And here they are. I'm in the presence of greatness here. Two legends of the game, two of the best on this surface. What is it, 12 Grand Slam titles, 123 tournament titles. You boys better be good this afternoon after that build-up. It looks as though Stefan's been out practicing and you haven't, Boris.
Actually, I have been practicing.
Okay.
I had lunch and I have to do a television job here.
So you're just, so you're fit, you're keen, and you're
I
ready
have
to
my
go.
tennis gear in the locker room, just in case you're wondering.
Oh, I'm pleased about that. Stefan, nice to welcome you here this week. You look as fit as you did from the last time you played here.
Yeah, but not quite as fit. But times go quickly. But it's really nice to be back here, and I played here. I think every year that I played as a professional, I was here to play at Queen's, so it brings back a lot of memories.
So it was an important tournament for you?
Oh,
then,
absolutely. It was one of the key events, and it was very important to play here. It was leading up to Wimbledon as well, and it was very close to where I used to live, not far away.
So how is the form then, if you've been out practicing?
It's okay, I would say. It's not as good as it was before, obviously, but I try to keep up and play a few times a week just to keep the fitness. The only thing that I'm missing is match practice, but we get a good challenge here today.
He always downplays it before, so that's his strategy. I know him already. So.
Have you got your tactics sorted out then?
Yeah, and I'm in bad shape today. My knee's hurting. I can hardly walk.
I'll tell you what, we've got one email in here from Ed Craig from Newcastle, because we're asking people to email in, and please do email us if you want to ask the boys a question. We said, will we see any diving from Boris today, or won't the bones allow it anymore?
Well, we'll see. Depends how far away he's going to play when he's back. But the problem with diving is I have to get up back on my feet. That's the only problem I have.
Okay, well, if we won't see it today, let's just remind you, here's Boris at his athletic best, and maybe we should just get a comment from you. This looks quite a while ago. This is about
That was match point against Kevin Curran, 85.
Oh, not that you remember it very well then.
Yes, I remember the haircut. Yeah. That was the second year.
Did you realise just how big a deal that was winning Wimbledon at 17?
No, I had no idea. I thought it was an important tournament here in England, but I didn't know it was the championship, and that my life would change that dramatically. So I just did what I thought I had to do, and all of a sudden I became this phenomenon.
I've got to say the shorts were quite short there. Is that going to be the key to this afternoon as well?
Well, mine are far longer now, far longer.
But diving around there, is it true that you used to practice on all these mattresses and diving? Or was that
another part of history? Unfortunately, it's not true. It's by instinct, because it's too quick at that moment that you actually have a time to think about, now I'm going to dive. It has to come spontaneous, and that's the way I always like it.
Well, I'm sure you at home have got a lot of questions for the boys, so let's remind you of our email and text address. There you are. Contact us via the website www.bbc.co.uk/tennis. Text us 07940 924 924. You better be quick, though, because they're only here for a few minutes. Stefan, let's reminisce a bit, because Boris was getting a bit annoyed the other day because he was talking about Wimbledon, and that you beat him in 2 of the finals then.
Yeah, that's the upper hand that I do have. But if you look at all the finals that we played, I think he beat me twice as much at least, and he beat me here at Queen's. Was it 2 finals or even 3? It was at least 2 finals, I know that. So Boris was always a great challenge, and I was lucky enough to win 2 out of 3 Wimbledon finals. So it's just a pity we didn't end up playing in the 4th one. In 1991, I think, I lost to Stitch in that semi-final, and there could have been a 4th one.
Could have been. Well, we're going to remind you of the one in 88 now. Sorry, Boris, you might just want to close your eyes now and not watch this, but well, here we go, Stefan.
Yeah, that was a great moment here. Winning Wimbledon the first time is always very, very special, and beating Boris in the final was a tough task. He's already won twice by then, I think, and
it's amazing how you remember that. I mean, both of your reactions. Everybody remembers, what you did when you won.
Absolutely, it was big at the time. I think I won the Australian Open, but it was not quite as big as winning Wimbledon. So that really changed my life too a little bit.
Was that the goal? I mean, who was your idol? Who did you? Because you're not in the mould of most sort of Swedish tennis players.
No, I'm not. I'm quite different, and even today, obviously Borg was my idol at the time, and he was a great player, and I watched him in all his finals. But I think I developed my own style, and I think everybody needs to find their style of playing, because you can't play like everybody else. You need to find what's best for you, and I think it's the same with Boris. He's found his style, and that's the really important thing.
Who was your idol growing up?
My idol was Bjorn Borg as well, because he was the guy winning Wimbledon all the time, and those times we didn't have much television, tennis on television in Germany. We had always the Wimbledon final, and therefore he was the 5-time winner. But playing-wise, as Stefan said, I realized I wasn't the fastest, but I had quite a lot of power, and therefore I was able to use it better than others.
Talk just briefly about each other. I mean, what was the strengths? What worried you most about Stefan's game?
That at the time he was the player with the best footwork, so he would get to all the balls, and regardless of the volley hit or the ace he was about to make, he was always there with the racket somehow. He was able to get a lot of balls back, especially at the net. You think he had an opening, but somehow he had the racket on the ball and put it back, so that was always
And Stefan, for you, what was difficult for him?
Playing against Boris, like you said, he's very powerful, and I knew that Boris could lift his game for my matches, especially if it was a final, and if you were playing in Germany, you already almost lost before you played, because and especially indoors too, where there was no sun, there was no wind, and he could serve me off the court a lot of times. Boris did. He just served too well, and he would break me once in each set, and that would be it. So I knew it was always tough to play Boris at any time.
Well, you mentioned playing him here, so this is for you, Boris. We'll show you winning this one, okay? This was the final back in '96 again, and a shorter haircut there, Boris.
Yeah,
I have to say.
and longer by Stefan. That was my last victory, wasn't it? In '96.
Yeah, it was. But how important was winning here?
Well, that gave you...
Get one over on Stefan.
Well, obviously I knew if I go to Wimbledon, I want to win Wimbledon, I have to beat Stefan along the way. It'll be the final or the semi-final. So beating him in the Queen's here before gave me a good incentive to know, okay, now I have a feel how I have to play him at this particular time. And that's why it was always so important to play in the Stellato, because it, similar court, similar, obviously the same city, similar atmosphere. That's the reason why he played, I guess, so many times, why I played so many times. It just gives you a good feel of how well you are before Wimbledon.
And because Stefan, that was the last year that you played, was it?
It was back in 1996, and it was great ending up playing the final.
But how can you play that well and then quit?
Oh, that's a good question. But that was one of the highlights of the year. But I said to myself, I wanted to finish my career still playing good tennis, and I was playing quite good tennis in '96. Not my best tennis, but good enough to leave the tour and disappear in my way.
Yeah, and we've had a number of emails also asking what you're both doing now. So, and I know you're back in Sweden. It's coaching as well.
I'm helping out a little bit in the local club. We set up what we call Växjö Tennis Center, where I work with Kalle Axel Hageskog, the previous Davis Cup captain there. So trying to get the youngsters to come there and study and play full-time tennis at the same time. So I work out there a little bit with them. And I work quite a bit from home, actually. I have a little office at home and do work from there and spend quite a bit of time with my family. So quite a busy life, but pretty low-key.
Any superstars coming up?
From Sweden, it does not look that great, to be honest, but they may surprise me. But it's a bit harder to find the good players nowadays.
Oh, yeah. Facts to follow, all of you guys.
Oh, that's true.
And for you, Boris, I know you were saying that you're working with some youngsters as well.
Yeah, I'm also trying to give back a little bit to the German Tennis Federation. But again, as the problem in Sweden, we have the same problem. We don't have many great youngsters coming up, and if they do, they're...
Hold on, you're talking to us here. We know.
Somehow they're good at 17 and 18, and all of a sudden they disappear into other sports, or they don't even, think about tennis anymore. But I'm very busy with the television, and I'm working in Wimbledon for you guys and for German television. And I'm running the Super 9 event in Hamburg.
Yes.
So that's
You're on the other side of the fence.
I'm on the other side of the fence, and that's interesting to see and learn from this perspective.
Yeah. Would either of you, being family members, would you want your children to play tennis? Would you encourage it?
I always said if they can play to club level, that's my goal. They can go out and they know what a forehand and backhand is, and they can hit it well. That's my goal. I think it's always hard to follow a mom or dad that's been successful. It creates a lot of unnecessary pressure. So But I want him to be involved in sports. That's the main thing for me.
You'd be a nervous dad sitting at the side.
I probably would be nervous. I'm not that nervous sitting around now, but if they were playing, I would be definitely.
What about you? Because I saw Noah had a racket out.
No, he likes to play tennis, and I would love him to be involved in sports. Whether it doesn't have to be tennis, but I want him to be involved in sport because it was a great life lesson to me. Now, I would agree, if you decide to want to be a tennis player, then obviously there's always my shadow running around, and that wouldn't be fair to him. So, by the end of the day, when he's 16, 17, he's going to decide what he wants to do.
Okay.
Hopefully still stay in school by then.
I know when you lived over here in London and you have read the papers and you know what happens with Tim, it's a tough few weeks for him, isn't it?
It's a tough few weeks. I agree with you. The media is all around him, and he is in focus. But I think he's done very well under the circumstances. Actually, been to the semi-final. Was it 3 years now or 4 years?
4 now, yeah.
Which is a really good record. He's just a little bit missing there. And but
what do you think is missing?
I don't know. It's hard to tell. But he's had to play Pete Sampras a few times.
Yeah.
And
Ivanisevic wasn't another
yeah, that's
time
right. That was a good chance for him. So he's been a little bit unlucky playing Pete because he's been an outstanding player at Wimbledon for the past 7-8 years. But with his experience, he should do well at Wimbledon with a home crowd, with a support, and he's got the game to do well. He can go all the way. I don't know if it's this year or next year, but he's still got a few more chances.
Yeah, because there isn't that many that look at home on grass, is there?
Well, then I feel like that's a chance this year because I don't see clear-cut favorites. In the previous years, as Stefan said, it was Sampras and there was a long pause because he was winning 7 times. But I don't see anybody right now dominating on grass. Even a Leighton Hewitt, Wimbledon champion the last year, the Wimbledon Queen's Club champion of last year, he dropped a little bit in his top form. And I see there's a lot of other guys, and Tim is one of them, who on their good day can have an incredible run and win the whole tournament. So let's see what happens.
What about, Andy Roddick yesterday against Andre Agassi was just awesome, wasn't he? That serve.
Well, Andy Roddick for the last year and a half was a steady top 10 player, but he hasn't really reached the next level. Now, if he plays Agassi in Wimbledon and beats him, that would put him in that extra class. But he has certainly the weapons and he has the potential to do so. So let's see what's going to do next week.
Yeah, because you guys both know, having a big serve is such an advantage on this stuff.
Oh, definitely, and Roddick has got a big weapon. He's got a big forehand too, and he definitely has the weapons to win at Wimbledon. And if he can beat Andre here, it's probably good for him. He believes he can beat the top guys.
So the 2 players there. How difficult is it going to be for Grosjean? You guys probably aren't the best to ask because you had the big serve, but how can he combat that huge serve?
Well, obviously, him winning a few years ago, as he said, the Glasgow tournament here, gives him the confidence and the belief that he can win a Glasgow tournament. Now, for him reaching the final is a bit of a surprise for me because he's not the big server, he's not the big volley, but obviously with the slower conditions,
But this guy is dynamic, isn't he? This Andy Roddick, he's got such power from the back of the court and from the serve.
That's right, but on the other hand, you have Grosjean, who's a smaller guy, but with a lot of power as well. He has got great footwork, he gets to most of the ball, he gets most of the returns back. So the pressure, in a way, is on Roddick, because everybody, after yesterday's victory, expects him to win today, and so Grosjean can play easy.
How difficult is that? Because he is only 20 years of age, to beat his idol, Andre Agassi, and then come out here in the final where now suddenly he's the favourite and the pressure's on.
It's a big test for him today, and he probably knows about it too, and it's probably even more difficult to win today, in a way, but he should feel comfortable. If he can beat Agassi on this court, there's no reason why he can't beat Grosjean. But he's going to have to make a lot of first serves because Grosjean is going to get hold of his second serve, and that's Grosjean's chance to get hold of that second serve. And but we'll see. It'll be very interesting to watch.
We heard earlier from Tim talking about the ice packs in the locker room, and I know you're going to both say you're injured going into today's match. We weren't going to, but you've been practicing out there. We've talked about it. How heavy these balls are today. For Roddick to be serving 149 miles an hour, how bad must his shoulder be?
I can't even imagine how bad it will be, but he's really crunching it, and I'm struggling to get above 170.
We have to shut off the radar gun here.
No. Oh no, that's
That
going to be
doesn't
our
look so bad,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
But have you found that the ball's really heavy?
Yeah,
and
they are. I
difficult?
mean, I haven't been playing on grass for years here, but coming here, hitting with a ball after a while, they get really, really heavy. They do, and they get quite big. So it's quite a challenge volleying the ball, especially if it's below the net. So it's quite tricky.
It won't be tricky, you'll be fine, and we're looking forward to it. Just before you guys go, I know you've talked about Wimbledon, and that was the goal and the greatest sort of moment and everything, but what was your greatest match? What do you remember as being your greatest match?
My greatest match in my memory was the Davis Cup relegation match against America, where Germany played America, and I played McEnroe on the first day, and it happened to be the longest match in pro history. We played 6 hours and 42 minutes. I ended up winning it in 5 sets, and those times we didn't have a tiebreaker. So one set went 15-13, the other set was 14-12, plus the others. So that was a match I remember.
And for you, Stefan?
It probably has to be the US Open final that I played against Jim Courier in '91, where I played pretty flawless tennis all the way through, and to beat Courier in the final at the time with big scores, it was quite an accomplishment at the time.
Yeah, well, I've got so many to choose from, you two. But of course, we're looking ahead to the final. It is a big match for both players, because obviously important to go through to Wimbledon. And you've talked quite a bit about the talent of Sébastien Grosjean, because as you can see, they're not a tall man, but moves so well.
Moves so well and has a good technique on all of his strokes, and that's always a trademark about the French tennis system. They always come up with great young talented players, and Grosjean is one of them. But there are so many out there that they have always a good technique and good leg speed, and that's something you underestimate on the grass is your footwork. You think you need a big serve, yes, you need a big serve, but you need to move around as much. And Grosjean has one of the best legs in the game right now.
Okay, well here he is with the hat on back to front once again, in the red shirt, making his way out onto court against Andy Roddick, 20 years of age. Many people think he'll be a future world #1. Do you guys agree?
Well, he has the potential. He's a young guy, has the power. He's got the charisma as well. His body is a little shaky sometimes, and he gets injured quite frequently, especially on his ankles. But if he stays healthy for one season, he has a shot.
And Brad Gilbert also in his corner. He'll have a lot to say to him. He's always got a lot to say, Brad.
Oh, yeah, he does, yeah. But he did a great job with Agassi, and I'm sure he'll do a great job with Roddick as well. So he'll have a benefit of having Brad Gilbert around him.
And of course, Brad would have known exactly what to say to Andy Roddick yesterday against Andre Agassi, who he coached for so long. Well, Andy Roddick is there. Let's hear what the umpire's got to say.